What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. Week 16 is here. As always, I'm joined by one of the most accurate ranker in the game right now, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, how's it going?
What's up? Had a pretty good week betting wise. Happy week 16. If you're still listening, it means you likely made it to your semifinals. So let's get another win this week and let's bring in some championships.
Yeah, let's do it. Hopefully you don't need this episode too much, but we are going to talk about our top waiver ads at every position. I know some, especially at running back, if you had Montgomery or something like that, you're going to be in need. So we'll get going here. Yes. Start out at quarterback. Sean, who are you looking at on waivers heading into week 16?
Yeah, so again, like you said, hopefully you don't need to be diving into the waiver wire to have a plug and play at quarterback. But I noticed Anthony Richardson's still available in, half the leagues. And, he had a brutal game as a passer last week, but he still finished as the QB 15 thanks to his 46 yards and a touchdown rushing. That was a tougher matchup against the Broncos this week. It's more of an average spot against the Titans, but it is at home, which I think helps him. And he still has a ton of rushing upside. So I think if you need a high ceiling play, let's say, you're an underdog this week, you could certainly do worse than Richardson. You want to tap into his massive ceiling if he's available. And they play the Giants next week. So he has a nice little 2-week stretch here. So I think if you're desperate, maybe you were leaning on, Mahomes, who might be out this week. I think Richardson could be a nice pivot.
Do you think there's still a benching risk with him? Because, he couldn't complete passes for the last, the entire game pretty much. And they are technically not out of the playoff hunt. So I'm that's what I was worried about with him. Yeah. I think we talked about it last week
that's again, if you're an underdog, tap into his upside. Again, hopefully you don't need to be starting Anthony Richardson. There's safer plays way down my rankings. But as of now, he opens up my top 10, assuming he will play the whole game. But yeah, that's a good point. Obviously there's some benching risk. But this is a week, they might be able to stay close, lean on the run game, including him. If Jonathan Taylor didn't drop that, fumble that ball right before he scored, could have been a different story. You don't want Richardson to get into an obvious, pass-heavy game script. So I think that kind of screwed him from the get-go. But I think he bounces back here with a solid game, assuming that, he does have some bench risk, of course.
Yeah, for me, it's Aaron Rodgers still available in 56% of leagues. He's playing better, just kind of spam targeting Devontae Adams was pretty much the only thing he knows how to do. But he found a little rushing upside out of nowhere last week. Ended up carrying the ball, more than he ever has. Got to 40 rushing yards. So it's kind of a weird thing where you wonder a little bit. Was it the warm weather down there in Florida? It's, you're going to be back in MetLife, a little cooler temperatures, obviously. But at this point, there's not a ton of quarterbacks that are, putting up a 289 yard game with 3 touchdowns and then adding, rushing yards on top of it that you could just find on waivers. Rodgers is available in over 50% of leagues, and the Rams, tend to be a defense that you can move the ball on. The total is still, I think 46.5 for this game. So reasonably high despite the weather. And yeah, the 6 carries for 45 yards. He's doing that in week 15. I don't know. This season is so weird. Rodgers coming out of nowhere. I guess he's getting healthier. I don't know. But yeah, if you need it, I think Rodgers, 339 against the Dolphins and then 289 and 3 touchdowns with 45 rushing against the Jags. All right, running back. This is the one where there's going to be a lot of movement, I think. Who you're looking at on the wire at running back for week 16?
Yeah, so first up, Kendre Miller of the Saints. Alvin Kamara is questionable with his groin injury. No clue if he's playing or not. But if he were to be ruled out, I think, Kendre would require a max bid. He would be maybe a low-end RB2. And the Saints are huge underdogs this week against the Packers. Might not make sense to even push Kamara. They're already eliminated from the playoffs. Derek Carr's essentially ruled out for the rest of the season. They probably want to see what they have in Kendre because he was their 3rd-round pick last year. Has barely played because he's been in and out of the lineup. We've poked fun at Dennis Allen just hating him because he's never healthy. But I think he's a talented back. He reminds me of Aaron Jones. So I think they'll want to see what they have in him. these next few weeks. So, if Alvin Kamara is out, I think he's going to be a sneaky play, maybe like an RB2-3 flex kind of option. So if he's out there, like he probably doesn't require that big of a bid right now because Kamara is questionable, but he's a sneaky ad right now. Again, it's go big or go home right now. So if you need running back, he's worth a stash. And then, the Raiders running back situation, they have a good matchup here against the Jaguars. Could lean on the run heavily this week, but we don't know if, Sincere McCormick is going to be out this week. If he plays, I'm guessing he'll be the lead back. And, an RB3 flex option. If he's out, I think Alexander Madison would be the play here, more of an RB3 flex option. So this is a situation where you just kind of, if you're in need of a plug and play or want to prevent your opponent from having an option or something, stashing one or two of these guys this week and just seeing what unfolds heading into Sunday, I think makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, McCormick, he was the feature back as long as he was in there for that game against Atlanta, but unfortunately he went down really early, so it's tough to tell as of right now exactly what will happen. But I think it's Abdullah put up a pretty good game, but it doesn't profile as much of a play from behind game, I don't think, against the Jaguars. Although maybe you could say that about the Falcons too. But yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's going to be tough because it could conceivably be Abdullah if they fall behind. Madison if they're ahead. So yeah, it's a tough call. Jerome Ford is I think the biggest ad right now. He's definitely going to be the starter now. The only question is, Deontay Foreman's been a healthy scratch. What role will he have? Will he just kind of jump into the old Nick Chubb role or his old role where he only was getting, 4 carries, if that, in most games? I think Ford, he's available in about 2/3 of leagues. It's still the top ad for this week because you looked at when Chubb was, coming back, they gave him, his normal kind of starting role. But as the season progressed, Ford started to cut into that more and more. And he was getting a lot of the early down work that was going to Chubb when Chubb had first returned from injury. So I think they still like Ford the most. Obviously, their season's kind of in the tube right now. But Cincinnati's still a pretty good matchup. For opposing running backs, we saw Tajay Spears, as a kind of a passing down back, have that big game, and that's what Ford, will be in their passing game, and then he's getting early down work as well. So I like Ford as the top ad. And one other guy, Craig Reynolds, with Montgomery being ruled out for the season, they have Reynolds and Sione Vaki behind him. Vaki's like the more intriguing prospect, but Reynolds is the more 1-for-1 Montgomery replacement, so I think he'll be next up. That's what tended to happen in most of their games. If they were using like a true third running back, it would be Reynolds. So he's available everywhere, and I don't know how much they're going to push Gibbs. I mean, we've seen them give Gibbs 26, 30 touches. They are kind of in a space where they know they're going to be trying to make a deep playoff run. So I would spend a pretty decent amount on Reynolds as well, because he's definitely going to have a role. And it's a very, very, could be a very valuable role in that Lions backfield if he gets anywhere near, what Montgomery was getting. Any thoughts on that Lion backfield, by the way?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think Reynolds would kind of be the Montgomery backup, and Vyaki would kind of be the Gibbs backup. Yeah. So yeah, I think Reynolds, I'm projecting him for a handful of touches this week, and I agree. Like Gibbs, he's my RB1 by a mile right now, but they're going to want to limit him. They know they're making the playoffs. Like you said, they got to keep him fresh. Montgomery, this is a season-ending injury, so they have to keep Gibbs fresh. So yeah, Reynolds is absolutely the guy to add here.
All right, wide receiver. Who do you like on the wire heading into Week 16?
Don't like anybody. It's a great week. It's a great week for running backs. We just gave out a handful of options that I think are must-adds. Needing to add a wide receiver from the waiver wire to insert in your starting lineup in the semifinals is not ideal. But Romeo Doubs is, available in 62% of leagues. And he's the highest ranked wide receiver I have that's available in over 50% of leagues. Right in that wide receiver 40 range for me. But we saw he had a nice 2 touchdown game last week in his return. And I like his touchdown upside here against the Saints. The Packers have the second highest team total of the week. But he does have a lower floor. This will probably be a very run-heavy game script where they'll probably get out to an early lead, maybe limit the volume. But when they do get in the red zone, Dobbs and Kraft are typically loves targets. So we're just banging for a touchdown here. Hopefully you don't need to go this route. But I think Romeo Dobbs sticks out from the guys that are available in most leagues.
Yeah, one guy I mentioned that I don't think the floor is as high as Dobbs, but the ceiling could be higher. Is Jalen McMillan. Yeah, he's available in 90% of leagues. And the only reason I say that is because, like you mentioned, the Packers are, a big favorite, some weather situations there. But McMillan, and the Bucks, they're still fighting for trying to hold off, the Falcons for the division. And they're playing indoors in Dallas. And he's starting to play, just as much as Mike Evans. So 85-90% of the pass snaps. Baker Mayfield's just on fire right now. So McMillan, I know he's a guy you really liked. Any thoughts on him? Because I know you were on him earlier this season.
Yeah.
He started getting some injuries. But now it looks like he's on to that breakout that you thought maybe could happen a little earlier. But now that he's healthy, it looks pretty good out there.
Yeah. Like the first 10 weeks of the season, he was in and out of the lineup dealing with, I think it was a hamstring injury. Looks like it wasn't until after their bye week he's been closer to 100%. And obviously, Chris Godwin's out for the season. So, yeah, he's starting to round into form, and he's essentially the Chris Godwin role. Obviously, Mike Evans is getting a huge target share right now, but, like Sterling Shepard's kind of banged up. So McMillan's been stepping up, and he's been impressive. He was a third-round pick for a reason. I love his upside, especially in this offense. So, yeah, I think he has a higher ceiling than Dobbs. Dobbs kind of needs a touchdown, but McMillan's going to get those targets. This should be a close enough game where they're going to lean on the pass. So, yeah, love McMillan here as well.
All right, tight end, week 16. Who do you got?
I got Hunter Henry available in half the leagues right now, coming off a bit of a dud, 4 catches for 25 yards. But is that really a dud this year? That about the same half PPR points as Brock Bowers. So can't hate on it too much. But the Pats are, massive underdogs here against the Bills. So it should be a pass-heavy game script, which I think helps Henry, obviously. And Henry only has 1 touchdown this season, which isn't, too crazy. The Patriots are a low-scoring team, but it is a bit crazy just considering Henry should be one of Drake May's top, red zone targets. So I think he's due for some touchdown upside going forward, and opens the week inside my top 10. He's my tight end 9. So, maybe some leagues he was kind of dropped because, again, he kind of had a disappointing game, but he's still up there in my top 10 this week.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots don't know what they're doing in the red zone. They've had so many red zone gaffes this year. Finally, got just let Drake May keep it. I think he got in the end zone. That's probably what they need to do. But yeah, it's been wild. I like Brenton Strange here. I think he's probably going to be the top ad and should be going up against the Raiders. They're 26th in DVOA against tight ends, and Strange, he came through with double-digit catches last week. And Mac Jones really inaccurate down the field, so he's kind of just it takes a lot of throws for Mac Jones to get the ball from one side of the field to the other. So that's always good for the PPR pass catchers here. You saw Thomas with I think it was 10 catches and Strange with 11. So that's something that against this Raider defense could very well continue here. Strange is available everywhere, and he's getting that Evan Ingram 85% route rate that Ingram was catching a lot of balls. Might not be a great touchdown bet, but against the Raiders, I think this is one of the better spots that the Jaguars have been in all year offensively. So Brent Strange, I think he's the top ad if you need it.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially it'd be like adding Evan Ingram. Like that's the way I would think about it. Yeah, he's a must add this week.
All right, defense, special teams. Who we streaming?
I'm going with the Green Bay Packers here. Available in 49% of leagues against the Saints. I was already tipping people off at this in the Discord that they'd probably be my defensive streamer this week. So if you have the roster space, go ahead and add them and get ahead of this. And I saw their ownership kind of took a hit. I think people got ahead of the curve here, but this is a great spot against the Saints. Spencer Rattler should start, who looked like the much better quarterback last week, so he deserves it. But he should be good for some sacks, maybe a turnover or two. And the Saints have the lowest team total this week by far, actually. So really checks every box you kind of want from a streaming defense. And again, the Packers are, what are they, 14-point favorites now? So they're just going to force the Saints to throw, and that just leads to more potential sacks and turnovers. So Packers for me, they open up as my number one defense this week.
Yeah, the other defense. Well, there's two more because I was leaving. I left you the Falcons. I thought you were gonna just pick on the Giants again.
They're good too. I said if you can't get the Packers, get the Falcons. If the Bills are available,
the Bills. So the Bills are the ones they're still available at 52%, and that's I guess people dropped them because they had that game against the Detroit Lions, which makes sense. So if you could get the Bills, against the Patriots are just very error prone. Do that, but the Giants against the Giants, the Falcons aren't as good of a defense, but I mean they gave up under 10 to the Raiders, so they can handle themselves in matchups like this. You might get a Tim Boyle start with time to prepare for a defense, or Drew Lock, who either way you're in good shape because the Giants, they have no offensive line, and the Falcons they're bad at getting pressure, but in certain matchups we've seen them do it. So I think this is one where I wouldn't be afraid of them, and they're 10-point favorites. But you got the Bills 14-point favorites, the Saints, the Packers 13-point favorites, and the Falcons 10-point favorites. So definitely that's the top three in some order.
Yeah, what a week to be streaming defense though. Like the top 3, 4. Are widely available, but if it's a Tim Boyle start, didn't we have that side prop? I don't know if we actually had action on it, but Tim Boyle career starts.
I don't think it was Boyle. I think it was.
He's one of the guys.
Lance and somebody else. Yeah.
Tim Boyle is my favorite one. I think I set the line at 1.5 career starts, which the fact that you're even setting a line on this guy is bizarre to me. But we could have one this week, and then who knows? Maybe he'll have one more. The rest. Oh no,
I think we had a side bet of who would have more starts between Boyle and somebody, and I said Boyle only because I forget the other. I think the other one might have been
maybe Zach Wilson. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it was Zach Wilson. I don't know, but Boyle was he's in the running here, so that's good for the defense. Kicker. Who do you like a kicker on who we streaming?
Sticking with my boy Chase McLaughlin here, available in 51% of leagues at Dallas. Again, still one of the most underrated kickers, in my opinion. Made all 4 field goals last week. Has a big leg, too. So, the fact that he gets to play indoors here at Jerry's World helps. Don't need to worry about weather. Maybe we'll have to look at the time of day. Maybe he's going to be staring at the sun. Who knows? But Tampa Bay has one of the highest team totals of the week. I think this is a great spot for him to rack up field goals, maybe some extra points. But I love Chase McLaughlin this week. And he's my number 2 kicker. I think you're going to mention the guy I have ranked number 1, but I can't trust him after what happened Monday night. But I also like the guy you're about to give out.
Yeah, and it's Younghoe Koo, but be sure to monitor because just make sure he doesn't get benched. But if he's in there, I mean, even with he missed another one from inside 50 last night, so he's missing some kicks. But I mean, on the season, I thought it was going to be worse. It's not as bad as I thought. I think he's what has he missed? Oh no, he's missed 9 field goals. So yeah, it is as bad.
It's bad.
But yeah, I mean, it's still hard to rank another kicker higher than him. And because the one thing about this week is there are a bunch of outdoor games where there could be some weather, so you got to factor that in too. Yeah. And then there's most of the other kickers are just on rosters, but so yeah, it's cool. And then Tyler Bass. The Arizona kicker at Ryland, he's kicking outdoors and he's missed some kicks too. McManus, if he's available, it's weather. Bates, he's going to be owned and he's kicking outdoors. Then it's McLaughlin. So maybe Matt Gay, if he's available, but he's all the way now. He's number 9 and almost a full point for me behind Koo. So yeah, it's ugly. Hopefully you're not in a dire situation, but I think they're still rolling with Koo and. Giants, they're indoors against the Giants, so it's kind of
the first. I know they had that one field goal. It was 57 yards. They were just trying to draw them off sides. But earlier in the game, they passed up on a 54-yarder. Was it 53-yarders? They decided to punt or something. It was kind of weird. But if you're passing up on 53-yarders indoors, just find a new kicker. I don't know what they're doing. So
and they might if they do, and that would actually be Probably, I get. Where's Matthew Wright? Is he back on the wire?
Yeah.
Can we get Matthew Wright in here, please?
Whoever the Falcons pick up, they're probably the number 1 kicker. But somebody.
There's
But
essentially no way. I'll put it this way: there's almost zero chance that even if the Falcons pick up a guy off the wire, that he's not ranked number one, because Koo, with all of these misses this year, still ranks number one, which means it's just the field goal opportunities and the fact that you are kicking indoors, which keeps your percentage still higher. So there's pretty much just Falcons kicker. That's
exactly. Or Chase McLaughlin. Either way.
Or Chase. Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, he shouldn't even be available. Like, why is he?
I know you're
listening to you.
You're telling me.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for our NFL Week 16 waivers episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex podcast so you don't miss an episode all season long. Check out fantasylabs.com for all of our fantasy football content. You can use code FLEX40, $40 off. Sean is on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this money.